My name is Rebecca Chen. I am 34 years old, and I have been an ER nurse for 12 years. For most of my adult life, I thought family meant showing up no matter what. I thought it meant sacrifice, patience, forgiveness. I thought it meant putting their needs before my own, even when it hurt. I was wrong. I have one daughter. Her name is Abby, and she is 16 years old. She has her father's dark hair and my stubborn chin. She is careful with her words, thoughtful in ways that break my heart sometimes. She second-guesses herself constantly, apologizes for taking up space, laughs a little too quickly when someone makes a joke at her expense. I see her do it and I know exactly where she learned it. She learned it from watching me. My parents live in a 4-bedroom house in the suburbs. They have lived there for 37 years. I grew up in that house. So did my sister Michelle, who is 2 years younger than me and has always been their favorite. That is not bitterness talking. That is just fact. Michelle is charming. She married a dentist. She has 3 children who call my parents every Sunday and show up for every holiday with matching outfits and professional photos. Michelle's life looks perfect on paper, and my parents love nothing more than showing that paper to anyone who will look. I got pregnant with Abby when I was 18. Her father left before she was born. I worked my way through nursing school with a baby on my hip and debt piling up faster than I could breathe. My parents helped sometimes, but always with conditions. Always with reminders. Always with the unspoken understanding that I owed them for every single thing. For 16 years, I paid them back. I covered their mortgage when Dad got laid off. That was $7,000 over 4 months. I paid for Mom's dental work when their insurance would not cover it. $3,000. I bought them a new furnace when theirs died in the middle of January. $8,000. I paid for Michelle's kids to go to summer camp 1 year when her husband's practice was struggling. $2,000. I never asked for any of it back. I never even brought it up. I just kept showing up, kept helping, kept trying to prove that I was good enough. That Abby was good enough. That we deserved to be part of this family. But the truth is, I was never going to be Michelle. And Abby was never going to be Michelle's kids. When Abby was 5, my parents threw a massive birthday party for my niece, Lily. Same age as Abby. Bounce house, pony rides, magician, balloon animals, a cake shaped like a castle. 75 people showed up. My parents spent weeks planning it. They posted photos on Facebook for days afterward. Abby's 5th birthday? They sent a card with a $20 bill inside. No visit. No call. Just a note that said, "Sorry we cannot make it, too busy." When Abby was 7, Mom took all 3 of Michelle's kids to Disney World. 1 week. Matching t-shirts. Character breakfasts. The works. Abby asked if she could go. Mom said, "It's complicated, sweetie. Maybe next time." There was never a next time. When Abby was 10, my parents paid for Lily's braces. $7,000. Abby needed braces too. Her teeth were crowding badly, and the orthodontist said waiting would only make it worse. I asked my parents for help. Dad said, "We already helped Lily. We cannot afford to." I took out a loan. I am still paying it off. When Abby was 13, Michelle's oldest son, Ethan, graduated from 8th grade. My parents flew out to California for the ceremony. They stayed for a week. They posted photos every single day. 2 months later, Abby made honor roll for the first time. Straight as. I was so proud I cried. I called my parents to tell them. Mom said, "That is wonderful, honey." Then she said, "Did I tell you Ethan got into a private high school? We are so proud." I told myself it did not matter. I told myself Abby did not notice. But she did. She always did. She just stopped saying anything. This past Thanksgiving, my parents hosted dinner. 23 people. Abby and I were invited, but barely. We showed up, and there were no seats saved for us. We sat in the corner of the living room on folding chairs while everyone else crowded around the dining table. Michelle's kids sat at the main table with the adults. Abby sat alone in the corner with a paper plate on her lap. When dessert came out, there was not enough pie. Abby did not get any. Nobody noticed. On the drive home, Abby was quiet. Then she said, "Mom, do they not like me?" I wanted to lie. I wanted to say of course they liked her, of course they loved her, they were just busy, just distracted, just overwhelmed. But I looked at her sitting there in the passenger seat with her coat zipped all the way up even though the heater was on, and I could not do it. I do not know, baby, I said. She nodded. She did not cry. She just stared out the window for the rest of the drive. That should have been my wake-up call. That should have been the moment I drew the line. But it was not. Because 2 weeks later, my parents called and asked me to help them pay for new windows. $4,000. I said yes. And then Christmas came. I work in the emergency room at St. Mary's Hospital. December is brutal. Flu season, car accidents, people having heart attacks from stress, people falling off ladders while putting up decorations. The schedule is a nightmare. I knew I would be working Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I knew it months in advance. I told my parents. I told them I would be working a double shift on Christmas Eve, 16 hours straight, and that I would not be able to make it to their house until Christmas night at the earliest. My mother said, "That is fine, honey. We will save you a plate." I asked if Abby could still come. I asked if she could spend Christmas Eve with them since I would be at the hospital. Mom said, "Of course. She is always welcome." Abby was excited. She bought gifts for everyone. She wrapped them herself, spent an hour making the bows perfect. She picked out a new dress. Navy blue with little white flowers. She saved her allowance for 3 weeks to buy it. She did her hair in a braid. She looked beautiful. She looked hopeful. I dropped her off at my parents' house at 4 in the afternoon on Christmas Eve. I was already in my scrubs. I had to be at the hospital by 5. I walked her to the door. Mom opened it, smiled, said, "Hi, sweetie." Then she looked at me. "You are not staying?" "I have to get to work," I said. "Double shift tonight." Mom nodded. "Drive safe." I kissed Abby on the forehead. I told her to text me if she needed anything. Then I left. I worked straight through the night. Broken bones, stomach flu, a baby with croup, a man having a stroke, a teenager who wrapped his car around a tree. I did not sit down for 8 hours. I did not check my phone. I did not have time. At 11:47 that night, I finally took a break. I went to the staff room, sat down, pulled out my phone. I had 6 missed calls from Abby. 3 voicemails. 12 text messages. The first text was sent at 6:32. "Mom, when are they eating dinner?" 7:15. "Mom, they started eating. Nobody told me. I don't know where to sit." 7:41. "Mom, Grandma said there wasn't room at the table. She said I could eat in the kitchen." 8:03. "Mom, I'm just going to go home. Is that okay?" 8:29. "I'm driving home now. I'll be fine. Don't worry." 8:56. "I'm home. It's really dark. I miss you." 9:47. "Merry Christmas, Mom. I love you." I sat there staring at my phone. My hands were shaking. I called her. She answered on the first ring. "Hey, Mom." Her voice was small, careful, like she thought she had done something wrong. "Baby, what happened?" She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "They said there wasn't room." "What do you mean, there wasn't room?" "At the table. Grandma said they didn't plan for me. She said there were too many people and not enough chairs. She said I could eat in the kitchen by myself, but everyone was in the dining room and I felt weird, so I just left." "You drove home by yourself?" "Yeah. It's fine. I'm okay." "Abby." "Mom, it's fine. Really. I didn't want to make it a big deal. I just wanted to come home." I could hear it in her voice. She was not okay. She was sitting in our house in the dark, alone, on Christmas Eve, and she was trying to protect me from how much it hurt. "Where are you right now?" I asked. "On the couch." I turned on the tree lights. "It's kind of nice. Did you eat anything?" "I made a sandwich." "Abby." "Mom, I'm fine. Really. You should get back to work. I know you're busy." I wanted to scream. I wanted to leave the hospital right then and drive home and hold her and tell her I was sorry, tell her I should have known, tell her I should have protected her better. But I had 7 more hours left on my shift, and there were people in the ER who needed me, and I could not just leave. I will be home as soon as I can, I said. I promise. I know. It's okay. Merry Christmas, Mom. Merry Christmas, baby. I hung up. I sat there for a long time. Then I called my mother. She answered on the third ring. I could hear music in the background. Laughter. Voices. Rebecca, hi. How is work? Mom, what happened tonight? What do you mean? Abby said there wasn't room for her at the table. There was a pause. Then Mom said, "Oh, honey, it was just a logistical thing. We had 28 people here tonight. We didn't have enough chairs. We thought she could eat in the kitchen and then join us after dinner, but she left before we could explain." You had 28 people and you couldn't find one chair for her? Rebecca, do not take that tone with me. It was hectic. We were trying to make everything work. She could have just waited. She is 16 years old. It was Christmas Eve. She was alone in the kitchen while everyone else ate together. She chose to leave. That is not our fault. You told her there wasn't room. There wasn't. Not at the moment. But we would have made space after dinner. She just got upset and left before we could fix it. I closed my eyes. I counted to 10. I tried to breathe. How many people were at that table, Mom? I told you. 28. And you couldn't make space for one more? Rebecca, you are being dramatic. It was a complicated situation. We did the best we could. Who was there? What? Who was at the table? All 28 people. Tell me who they were. Mom sighed. Your sister and Eric. Their 3 kids. Your father's brother and his wife and their 2 kids. Your Aunt Linda and her husband and their daughter. The Johnsons from next door and their son. The Martins from church and their 3 kids. And a few others. A few others. Yes. So you invited the neighbors and people from church, but you didn't have room for Abby. That is not fair. Those people have been part of our lives for years. So has Abby. Rebecca, I do not appreciate you calling me on Christmas Eve and attacking me like this. We tried our best. We always try our best with Abby. If she got upset, I am sorry, but that is not our responsibility. She is 16. She needs to learn how to handle disappointment. I sat there in the staff room. The fluorescent lights were buzzing. Someone's pager was going off down the hall. On the other end of the phone, I could hear my sister laughing at something. I could hear my mother's voice saying those words. That is not our responsibility. You are right, I said. What? You are right. She is not your responsibility. She is mine. Rebecca. Merry Christmas, Mom. I hung up. I sat there for a long time, staring at the wall. Then I went back to work. I finished my shift. I did not call anyone. I did not text anyone. I just kept moving. I got home at 9:30 in the morning on Christmas Day. Abby was asleep on the couch. The tree lights were still on. There was a plate on the coffee table with the crust from her sandwich. I sat down next to her and she woke up. Hi, Mom. Hi, baby. She sat up. Her braid was messy. She was still wearing the navy blue dress. She looked so young. How was your shift? She asked. Long. She nodded. Then she said, I'm sorry I left last night. I should have just stayed. I didn't mean to make things weird. I looked at her. This girl who apologized for existing. This girl who thought it was her fault that she wasn't wanted. This girl who had spent 16 years trying to earn love that should have been hers by default. You have nothing to apologize for, I said. She blinked. But nothing. She looked down at her hands. Then she started crying. Not loud. Just quiet tears running down her face. I pulled her close and she buried her face in my shoulder and I held her while she cried. I did not cry. I did not say anything. I just held her and let her feel everything she had been holding in. When she finally stopped, she pulled back and wiped her eyes. What do we do now? I looked at her sitting there in her wrinkled dress with tears on her face and I knew exactly what I was going to do. We take care of ourselves, I said. That afternoon, I sat down at my desk. I pulled out my laptop. I opened a document. I wrote a letter. It took me 3 hours to write. I did not write it in anger. I did not write it in sadness. I wrote it in clarity. I wrote it with the kind of calm that comes when you finally stop lying to yourself. The letter was addressed to my parents. It was 2 pages long. I will not reproduce it here in full, but I will tell you what it said. It said that I had spent 16 years trying to earn their approval, that I had given them everything I had, that I had sacrificed my own financial stability, my own peace of mind, my own dignity, just to stay in their good graces. And I was done. It said that I had paid for their mortgage, their bills, their luxuries, their emergencies. I listed every single expense, every single dollar. I did not exaggerate. I did not need to. The numbers spoke for themselves. It said that the house they lived in, the house they had raised me in, the house where they had just told my daughter there was no room for her, that house had my name on the deed. That house was mine. I had bought it from them 6 years ago when they were about to lose it to foreclosure. I had paid off their debt, taken over the mortgage, let them stay there rent-free because I wanted them to feel secure. Because I wanted to help. Because I thought that was what family did. It said that effective immediately, they had 60 days to vacate the property. I was not asking. I was informing. I had already spoken to a lawyer. The eviction notice would be filed by the end of the week. It said that I would no longer be covering their expenses. No more mortgage help. No more bill payments. No more emergency loans. They were on their own. It said that Abby and I would not be attending any future family events. We would not be answering calls. We would not be responding to texts. We were done trying to fit into a family that had never made room for us. And it said that if they ever wanted to understand why this was happening, all they had to do was think about Christmas Eve. Think about 28 people at a table. Think about a 16-year-old girl driving home alone in the dark. Think about what they chose. I printed the letter. I put it in an envelope. I drove to their house at 6 in the morning on December 26th. I left it on their doorstep. Then I went home. My mother called at 7:30. I did not answer. My father called at 8:15. I did not answer. Michelle called at 9. I did not answer. My mother called again at 9:45. Then 10:30. Then 11. I did not answer. At noon, my mother showed up at my house. She rang the doorbell 14 times. She pounded on the door. She yelled my name. Abby was upstairs. I told her to stay there. I did not open the door. After 20 minutes, my mother left. She called again that night. And the next morning. And the next afternoon. I blocked her number. I blocked my father's number. I blocked Michelle's number. On December 28th, my mother sent me an email. It was 7 paragraphs long. It said I was being cruel. It said I was tearing the family apart. It said I was punishing them for one mistake. It said they had always loved Abby. It said they had done their best. It said I was overreacting. It said I was going to regret this. It said I owed them an explanation. I did not respond. On December 30th, Michelle showed up at the hospital while I was working. She cornered me in the break room. She said, "You need to stop this." I looked at her. "No, I do not. They are our parents. You cannot just kick them out of their house. It is my house. You know what I mean." "Do I?" "Rebecca, they made a mistake. One mistake. You are destroying their lives over a seating arrangement." It was not a seating arrangement. It was a choice. You are being ridiculous. Then let me be ridiculous. They are going to lose everything. They lost Abby first. They just did not notice. Michelle stared at me. Then she said, "I always knew you were selfish. I just did not realize how selfish until now." I laughed. I actually laughed. "You think I'm selfish? You are ruining their lives because your feelings got hurt. My daughter spent Christmas alone in an empty house because your family had no room for her. But sure, my feelings got hurt. She could have stayed. She chose to leave. She was 16 years old. She was surrounded by people who made it clear she did not belong. What was she supposed to do? Not make it about her?" I looked at my sister. My younger sister who had never paid for anything, never sacrificed anything, never had to prove herself because she was already exactly what they wanted. I looked at her standing there in her designer coat with her perfect hair and her perfect life, and I realized I did not know her at all. I had spent my entire life trying to be close to her, trying to make her like me, trying to earn her approval. And she had never cared. Not once. "Get out," I said. "Rebecca. Get out of my hospital. Get out of my life. And do not ever talk about my daughter like that again." She left. I went back to work. On January 2nd, my father showed up at my house. He rang the doorbell. I opened the door. He looked older than I remembered. Tired. His hands were shaking. "Rebecca, we need to talk." "No, we do not. Please. Just give me 5 minutes." I looked at him. This man who had taught me to ride a bike. This man who had driven me to school every morning. This man who had told me I could be anything I wanted. This man who had spent 16 years making my daughter feel like she was nothing. "You have 2 minutes," I said. He nodded. He cleared his throat. "Your mother and we did not mean for things to go the way they did on Christmas Eve. We were overwhelmed. There were so many people. We were trying to make everyone happy. We made a mistake. We should have made room for Abby. We should have done better. And we are sorry." I waited. He waited. I said, "Is that it? What do you mean? Is that your apology?" "Yes. You made a mistake. You should have done better. You are sorry." "Yes." "Okay." He blinked. "Okay. I heard you. Is there anything else?" "Rebecca, I just apologized." "I know. So, can we move past this?" I looked at him. Really looked at him. And I realized he did not understand. He had no idea what he had done. He thought this was about one night. One mistake. One oversight. He did not understand that it had been 16 years. 16 years of watching him choose Michelle's kids over Abby. 16 years of watching him make excuses. 16 years of watching him pretend he did not see the hurt on my daughter's face. "No," I said. "What? We cannot move past this." "Why not?" I apologized. "You apologized for Christmas Eve. You did not apologize for the 16 years before that." "What are you talking about?" "Abby's 5th birthday. Disney World. The honor roll. Thanksgiving. Every single time you chose to make her feel like she did not matter. Every single time you chose Michelle's kids over her. Every single time you made it clear that she was not good enough. That is not fair. We have always treated all the kids the same." "No, you have not. And you know you have not." He shook his head. "You are twisting things. You are making this bigger than it is. It has always been this big. You just did not care. We care about Abby." "You had 28 people at your table on Christmas Eve. 28. You invited the neighbors. You invited people from church. But you did not have room for her. Do not tell me you care." He stared at me. Then he said, "You are making a mistake. You are throwing away your family over nothing." "I am protecting my daughter. That is not nothing. We are your family." "No. Abby is my family. You are just people I used to know." I closed the door. He stood there for a long time. Then he left. The eviction notice was filed on January 5th. They had 60 days. They hired a lawyer. The lawyer called me. I did not take the call. I sent the lawyer to my lawyer. My lawyer sent them documentation. The deed. The mortgage records. The payment history. Everything was in my name. Everything was legal. There was nothing they could do. On January 10th, my mother sent me a letter. It was handwritten. 4 pages. It said she was sorry. It said she loved me. It said she loved Abby. It said she did not understand why I was doing this. It said she had tried her best. It said I was breaking her heart. It said I was destroying the family. It said she would never forgive me. I read it once. Then I put it in a drawer. I did not respond. Michelle called from different numbers. I blocked every single one. My father sent emails. I set up a filter so they went straight to trash. My Aunt Linda called and left a voicemail saying I was tearing the family apart and that I should be ashamed. I deleted it. On February 7th, my parents moved out of the house. They had nowhere to go. Michelle could not take them in because her house was not big enough. My father's brother offered to let them stay for a few weeks, but it was temporary. They ended up renting a small apartment 40 minutes away. 1 bedroom. 900 square feet. My mother cried the entire time they packed. I did not help them move. I did not call. I did not visit. I listed the house for sale 2 weeks later. It sold in 6 days. I used the money to pay off my student loans, pay off Abby's orthodontist bill, and put the rest into a college fund for her. On February 14th, Michelle sent me a text from a number I did not recognize. It said, "I hope you are happy. Mom and Dad are miserable. They lost everything because of you. I hope it was worth it." I blocked the number. Then I took Abby out for dinner. We went to her favorite restaurant. We ordered dessert first. We laughed until we cried. It was worth it. That was 8 months ago. My parents still live in that small apartment. My father got a part-time job at a hardware store. My mother works at a call center. They do not have money for vacations anymore. They do not host family dinners. They do not post photos on Facebook. Their lives got smaller, quieter, less comfortable. Michelle still calls sometimes. She leaves voicemails. She says I am cruel. She says I am selfish. She says I destroyed the family. She says Mom is depressed. She says Dad's health is getting worse. She says it is all my fault. I do not listen to the voicemails anymore. I just delete them. I have not spoken to any of them in 8 months. I do not miss them. Sometimes I think I should. Sometimes I think there is something wrong with me for not missing them. But then I look at Abby and I know I made the right choice. Abby is 17 now. She is a senior in high school. She is on the honor roll. She is applying to colleges. She wants to study engineering. She is confident in ways she never was before. She does not apologize for taking up space anymore. She does not laugh when people make jokes at her expense. She does not flinch when she walks into a room. Last week she came home from school and said, "Mom, I got into MIT." I cried. I hugged her so hard she laughed and said she could not breathe. Then I took her out to celebrate. We went to dinner. We ordered everything we wanted. We did not worry about the cost. We just enjoyed being together. On the drive home she said, "Do you ever regret it?" I knew what she meant. No. Not even a little? Not even a little. She was quiet for a while. Then she said, "I'm glad you chose me." I reached over and took her hand. "I will always choose you." She smiled. I know. And she did know. That is the difference. She knows now. She knows that she is worth choosing. She knows that she is worth fighting for. She knows that she is worth protecting. And she will carry that knowledge with her for the rest of her life. I think about that Christmas Eve sometimes. I think about my daughter sitting in an empty house in the dark. I think about her texting me, trying not to worry me, trying to be brave. I think about my mother telling me it was not their responsibility. I think about 28 people at a table and no room for one more. And I think about the choice I made. The choice to walk away. The choice to protect my daughter even when it meant losing the people I thought I needed. The choice to say enough. I do not regret it. Not for 1 second. Because at the end of the day, family is not about blood. It is not about tradition. It is not about obligation. Family is about showing up. Family is about making room. Family is about choosing the people you love over and over again, even when it is hard, even when it is complicated, even when it would be easier to look away. My parents had 28 people at their table that night. They had neighbors. They had friends from church. They had relatives they barely knew. But they did not have room for my daughter. So I made a choice. I chose her. I chose us. I chose a smaller life with more love over a bigger life with less. And I would make that choice again. Every single time. So what do you think? Did I go too far, or just far enough? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more stories about mothers who chose their children over toxic families, do not forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon. I've got 2 more stories queued up for you, both about the moment we realized protecting our kids means walking away from the people who were supposed to love them. Click on whichever one calls to you. Until next time, remember, family is about who shows up, not who shows up in your DNA.